This is the review for test unit 1, midpoint, slope, length, and constructions. Make sure you have your packet out while you're watching this so you can go through it with me. All right, so number 1, it says using the graph at the right, and we're first finding the length of AB. So if I have a graph, I'm going to use the Pythagorean theorem. So I go up 1 and over 8. So I have 1 squared plus 8 squared, which is 1 plus 64, which gives me 65, and then I have to square root that since this is Pythagorean theorem, and that gives me the square root of 65. You can leave it that way, or it's also equivalent to 8.0262. Sorry. Okay, so for the slope of AC, I'm going from A to point C, so that's this line right here. So I need to do my rise and my run, but I know since it's going down, it's going to be negative. So I have to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm down 8, that's a negative 8. Sorry, I don't like, sorry, the yellow is a weird color. Get a different color, orange. Then I go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, over 6. And then I simplify it, so this is negative 4 over 3 as my slope. All right, so the next one, I want to find the midpoint of AD. So I'm going to start from the bottom and go up. So from point D to point A, I had to go up 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I went up 9, and then I went over 2. So to find my midpoint, remember I want to take the middle of both of those numbers. So from point D, I'm going to want to go up half of 9. So I want to go up 4.5 spaces. So from D, let me change my color. 1, 2, 3, 4 and a half. And then I want to go over 1, because that's half of 2, so I go over 1. So here's my midpoint, and that point is negative 6, 0.5. All right, the distance between point D and point C. You can just switch my color up. Okay. So I go up 1, so 1 squared, plus, and then I go over 8. So 1 squared plus 8 squared again. That gives me 1 plus 64, which is 65, and then I square root that, and I get 8.062. All right, the bisector of AC, well, we know bisector means the midpoint, so we're doing midpoint. So from point C, I went up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So from the midpoint, I'm going to want to start at point C and go up 4 and over 3, because that's half. So from C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. If I draw my line with a ruler, that bisector would in fact lay on that line. And that is the point negative 2, 1. All right, so then the length of DB. I'm going to erase the picture just so we can get some clear views of what we're doing. If you need, as we're working, if you need to go back and you need to re-explain it, just pause the video, rewind, play it again. All right, so the length of DB. I have to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I went up 10, so 10 squared over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, plus 10 squared. So that's 100 plus 100, which is 200, and then I square root that, and I get Sorry, 1 second. $14.142. All right, letter G, the slope of AB. I went up 1 over 1, 2, 8. So my slope is 1 over 8, and I can't simplify that, so that's done. All right, the next, number 2, using the graph at the right, determine whether AC and DB are bisectors of each other. We know bisector means midpoint, so if AC and DB are supposed to be bisectors of each other, it means they're going to have the same midpoint. So that's how we're going to figure out the answer, and then we have to explain. So I'm going to do AC first. So to get from A to C, I had to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So for my midpoint then, I had to go up 4 over 3 from point C. So there's my midpoint of AC. And just so we have a numerical reference, this is the point -2, +1 for DB. So from point D, I went up 1, 2, up 10 over 1. Over 10. So for my midpoint, I'm going to go up 5 and over 5 from point D. And we end up at that same -2, 1 again. So yes, because they have the same midpoint. Okay. Number 3. This time we're not given the actual points graphed. You can try it. However, with this one, since our x value for P is 12, we don't go over 12. 12 would be like over here. So for the review, for the video, we're going to do it just using the coordinates on your test or anytime you need it in class. All your teachers should have the graph paper that you can use. Use it. Do not mess it up a problem just because you didn't want to ask for graph paper. There's graph paper available for you to use, and it will also be available on your SOL come May. So for PW, I want to find the length of PW, so I'm going to look at my points. T is the point 12,3. W is -5, -8. I want to look at the distance between x's and y's, because that's what I was doing, same thing with my Pythagorean theorem. Do it again here. So the distance from 12 to -5 is 17. So that's 17 squared, plus the distance from 3 to -8 is 11, so plus 11 squared. So this is 289 plus 121. Okay, and that equals 410, and then we square root that, and you can leave it as square root of 410 or 20.248. Okay, for the slope of CW, we're looking for the rise and the run. So we want to subtract our y values. So that is -8 minus 6 and -5 minus -1. Okay. -8 minus 6 is -14. -5 minus a -1 is -4. I simplify that, so I get my slope is a positive 7 over 2. For the midpoint of PC, I want to take both my points. I'm going to write them out to make it a little bit easier. Remember, I add my x's, and I divide by 2. And I add my y's, and I divide by 2. My answer here is 11 over 2, 9 over 2, which, if you want it in decimals instead of fractions, is 5.5, 4.5. 0.5. All right, the length of CW. Again, I'm going to write out my points. All right, so the distance from -1 to -5 is 4, so that's 4 squared. The distance from 6 to -8 is 14, so that's plus 14 squared, so that's 16 plus 196, 212, and I square root that, and I get 14.560, and either one of those answers will be perfectly fine. All right, the midpoint of PW. P is 12.3, W is -5, -8. So I add my x's, divide by 2, I add my y's, divide by 2, and my answer, I get 7/2, -5/2, which is 3.5, -2.5. That's my answer. All right, slope of PC. P is the point 12.3. C is the point -1.6. So to find the slope, we subtract our y's. 3 minus 6. Subtract the x's. 12 minus -1. Get those -3/13, and that does not simplify, so there is our answer. All right, so we flip over the page. Number 4. Point A is -4, -7. There's point A. Point C is point 1, -2. Point C is our midpoint. So what I need to do here is I want to find how much I go up and over to get from point A to point C. That's 5. Then I went over 5 also. So then to find the other endpoint, I want to do the exact same thing from point C. So I go up 5, over 5. So here's point B, and that is the point 6, 3. Okay, for number 5, you have a wide variety of options. I'm going to draw this in. There's point M. Easiest thing that you can do to find the possible coordinates for L and B. You have a ton of possibilities you can do for this one. So the easiest one would be to just go left and right or go up and down. Just pick a distance. I'm going to pick 3. So I'm going to go 3 to the left, and I end up right here at 1, -7. So I'm going to call this point L. And for point B, I could go to the right. 3. So there's point B at 7, -7. You could go up and down. You could make that left and right distance bigger, smaller. You have a very big selection of points you could choose. Number 6, I'm going to use the graph even though it's not provided. Again, this would be a perfect opportunity for you to ask your teacher for that piece of graph paper. Use it. It will help you a lot. Okay, so I know I have a slope of 3/4, so I'm going to have to go, I'm going to need a positive line of 3/4. Point A is 1.5. Point B is -7. Y. I need to figure out what Y is. So I'm going to go back up to the graph I used in number 4. Erase what I used in here for 4 and 5. And I'm going to graph what information I have. I know point A is 1.5. And I know that point B is going to be over here at -7 or something. So I'm going to put a line down -7 just to make sure I know where my -7 is. And since I want to get over there and I know my slope is positive, I'm going to have to do a down and left. So I'm going to go down 3 over 4. There's the next point I get to, but I'm not at -7 yet, so I need to do it again. Down 3 over 4. Now I have my x value of -7, My y value is -1, so I get y equals -1. There's my work. Number 7 says on the grid to the right, graph a point that will make a line parallel to AB through point C. Remember, with parallel, I'm looking for the same slope. So I first need to figure out what the slope of AB is, so I can then figure out what do I want my slope of CD to be. So for slope of AB, I went up 8 and over 2, and that simplifies to 4 over 1. So I need my new line to have a slope of 4 over 1. So from point C, I'm going to go up 4 over 1. There's point D. That's all I have to do. For number 8, I want to graph a point that will make a line perpendicular to line AB. So this time I want to use opposite reciprocals. Since my original slope was 4 over 1, because I know since I need it to be opposite signs, I need my new slope to be negative. Reciprocal, I split my fractions, so I need my CE line to have a slope of -1/4. So means I go down 1 over 4. So there's point E. All right, number 9. All right, determine if x, y, and zw are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. And I'm given points, so I need to find my slope. Again, you can graph them if you would like to. I'm going to make sure we know how to do them just by using the algebra. Okay, so I need to find the slope of xy. That's -1 minus 2 over 2 minus 7. So that gives me -3 over -5, which, remember, negative divided by negative makes a positive. So xy has a slope of 3/5. ZW, that's -3 minus -6. 2 minus -3. When I subtract those, I get 3/5. Because since these both have the same slope, xy and zw are parallel. Okay, letter B. For xy, 5 minus -2, -2 minus 6. So 5 plus 2 is 7, -8. So -7/8 for ZW. 6 minus 0, -3 minus 4. 6 over -7. Those are not reciprocals, nor are they opposites, and they're not the same. This is neither parallel nor perpendicular. Letter C. For xy, 2 minus 5, -2 minus 2, -3 over -4, which is 3/4. ZW, minus -2, 0 minus 3. So I get -4 over 3 for ZW. So they're opposites because they're different signs, and they are reciprocals, so these are perpendicular. Letter D. 8 minus 10, 3 minus 8, you get -2 over -5, which is 2/5. ZW, 2 minus 7, -3 minus -1. -5, -2, which simplifies to 5 over 2. So make sure we pay close attention. These are reciprocals, but since they are not opposite reciprocals, This is neither parallel nor perpendicular. Please, please, please be careful with your signs. Do not make one mistake, one silly mistake that messes up the whole problem. And now we get to everyone's favorite, constructions. Construct a segment that is perpendicular. I'm marking off what that means. It's LV and goes through point C. So this is an on-the-line construction. So I get my handy-dandy compass, which then went up here. It's not so handy-dandy. Put my compass on point C. Since this is a perpendicular on the line, my first step I need to do is open my compass up so that I can make an arc that intersects my line on both sides of C. That is just like that. So now I have these 2 points right here where my arc crossed my line. Those are both those points are equidistant from C. So I'm going to use those 2 points to do a mini perpendicular bisector construction to get my perpendicular line. So open it up more than halfway. I draw my arc and then bring it over to the other spot. Draw my arc. Get my ruler out, which is up here. If I can figure out how to rotate it, that would be awesome. Which I still have not figured out how to do. So we're just going to use our line tool. So there's our perpendicular line through point C. Number 11, construct the midpoint of JP. This is our perpendicular bisector construction. So I bring my compass down. Put my compass on point J. Spin this around so I can easily find out when it's more than half. There we go. That looks more than half. So make sure this gets. So then I draw my arcs. There's one arc. Then I drag it over to point P. Draw my other arc. This one I'm going to have to be careful. Make sure you are using the ruler. There's our perpendicular bisector. So here's our midpoint. That's the midpoint right there. Okay, number 12. Construct a segment that is perpendicular to JP that goes through point C. So this time we have a perpendicular off the line. So this time our first step is again to put our compass on point C. Open up our compass now. So it's at your compass point, your pencil point is below your line, and draw the arc. And again, just like our perpendicular on the line, we now have 2 points that are on the line. That we're going to now use those 2 points that are in green to do our perpendicular bisector of that little spot. Let's flip a little bit. Rotate. Okay, so I want to open this up more than halfway. I draw my arc. Bring it over to my other green point. I draw my arc. And then I take my line tool. There we go. And there's our perpendicular line through point C. Okay, number 13 is looking for parallel this time. So this time my first step is to draw a line through C that intersects my given line. It does not matter where your line goes. Okay, I want to make some form of angle. Then I'm going to bring my compass down. Whoops. Bring the compass down. Put my compass on the spot where my line intersected my original line. Draw the arc. Then I'm going to drive bring my compass up to point C. And draw that same arc up top. Okay. So now I want to measure how big this angle was using my compass. Put my compass point on where my arc intersected my line. Bring a compass and open it up so that the pencil point is where is measuring the arc. And then you can draw the arc there. Then bring it up to where your arc intersects your line. If your line was not long enough and your arc does not touch your line, extend the line. Use the ruler. Don't shift the line though. Okay. So now I have my compass where my arc intersected my line. I draw that arc in, same one I drew on the bottom. And then I'm going to take my pencil and my ruler and draw in my parallel line. There we go. We have, so C, our green line is parallel to our original JP. Okay. Number 14, 3 unnamed constructions are given below. Provide the correct name for each construction. Just looking at the picture. Here we know we have a perpendicular line. We didn't use the end of our line. And we have a point up here. So this is our perpendicular through a point off the line. All right. If we were to complete the second construction, this is what we just did. This is our parallel line construction. And the last one, here's the point we were making our perpendicular through, if we will notice right here. We went through point K. This is our perpendicular through a point on the line. All right, number 15, we are looking to construct the perpendicular bisector. We must show all of the arcs. And we're going to circle the 2 points that the perpendicular bisector goes through. So I'm going to get my compass back. There it is. I know I want to do the perpendicular bisector, so I'm going to put my compass on point A. And I'm going to open this so it's more than halfway. And draw my arc. Now, as you notice here, my arc that I drew on here, yours might not have, my arc went through point E. That does not mean I can stop right here and circle point E. Just because my arc goes through a point, does not mean my perpendicular bisector is going to go through that point also. I have to finish my construction. So, draw my arc. I take my line tool. Oh, I'm way off. There's my line. Oh. And as you see, we actually don't go through any points. So this is actually none, does not go through any points. If you were to come across this question on your test, it would go through. I don't know why this one doesn't, but do not think that you are wrong on this problem just because it didn't go through a point. This is just our mistakes. Sometimes teachers do that. But on your test, we've gone through those multiple times. It would work. 16, list the arcs as they are made to create the perpendicular line through point K. So, this is our perpendicular on the line, because K is on the line. So the first thing we always do with our perpendicular on the line is we open it up and make 2 points on our line that are equidistant from K. So it doesn't matter the order I write these down in, but I know A and D were my first two arcs I made. And again, you can have AD or DA. It doesn't matter, as long as it's A and D first. So from there, then I would take my compass. Let me walk through this with my compass, actually. I already had a compass there. So as we see, the first thing I would do, put my compass at point K. I'm going to go to A first, draw my arc. We finish ours all the way around. There's point D. Then I bring my compass to point A. Make my arc. So we know that C and B would then come afterwards. Does not matter the order. You write them in. And we draw our line down. Number 17, we have another list of the arcs as they are made. This time we're doing a parallel construction. So we know that the first thing we would do is we would have made this line. And then, we would put our compass on our point and open it up a little bit and draw this arc. And then we would bring it up. And draw the arc up here. So we know that C got drawn first, and then D. And then from there, I would measure out the arc C and make arc F. And then measure out arc D, make arc K. And that's how I would make my parallel line. 18. Which construction is shown in the following diagram? We know we're not bisecting an angle. We never touched on that this unit, so we can automatically get rid of that. We created line DE, as you can see by the arcs, so we did not do the midpoint of DE. Perpendicular bisector of AB, that's what we did, since we have arcs above and below the line. Number 19 says, line segment AB is shown in this diagram. Show all the construction marks that are part of the construction of the bisector of line segment AB. Remember, for our perpendicular bisector, we have things. You'll use number 1. And number 3, because our first thing we would need to do, since we're given A and B, is go to one of our points and open it up more than halfway and draw those arcs above and below. So we needed to use arc A and C. And that is the end of your review. Go over your review. Come in. You can ask any questions that you have. So that's it. Good luck. Study hard. You'll do fine.